Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Brian Colburn, a creative media expert and founder of Stitch Radio, a podcast production studio helping creators amplify their digital presence. With years of experience in podcasting and coaching, Brian specializes in guiding businesses and individuals to craft compelling content and build powerful narratives. How are you doing this morning, Brian?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Anthony.
No, I was happy to have you here. I enjoyed our conversation that we had. You're doing some really cool things, and I think some people out there would benefit from hearing what you have to say. So to start off, getting to know you a little bit, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I am in Santa Ana, California, here in the SoCal.
Awesome. How's California today?
You know what? The weather's supposed to be great this week. The rain has passed us. The fires are out. So life is good.
Okay, good to hear. It's about -20 right now with wind chill here, so I'm just gonna just pretend I'm just gonna ignore that bit, so there's no jealousy here. So,
Understood.
Are you newer to the area, or you been there forever?
No, I've been here for over 10 years in Santa Ana. I grew up in LA County and moved down here for better traffic.
Okay, gotcha. If you have friends coming into town that I've never visited before, where are you taking them? What are you doing, and where are you guys going for dinner?
You know what? I would encourage them to fly into John Wayne because it is a much simpler airport to navigate than LAX. You know what? I'm going to have to hit the beach. We've got some great beaches here in SoCal, some wonderful shopping areas and eateries along the coast. And that usually just sets the tone for a great visit, especially if we get to watch the sunset.
Okay. What's the go-to eatery, though? You know, like if you had to pick one, like what type of food in general?
You know what? I've got to give a shout out to a place I haven't been yet, and it's Heritage Barbecue down in San Juan. And every time I go to San Juan, I go with the intent to finally eat at Heritage, and the line's 50 people deep. So I can't do it.
It's one of those you have to know what you're going to order first, so people don't yell at you while you're waiting and looking at the menu.
Oh, you know, this place is boasted for having the first AQMD certified outdoor smokers, and they're massive. So the briskets and the pulled pork. Oh, my mouth's watering now. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm booking a plane ticket now. I'm getting away from this weather. So no, you had me at brisket. Awesome. So what can you tell us about what you do?
You know, simply, I help people tell their story. And we've had the awesome opportunity to work with some great solopreneurs, some awesome global brands. And, you know, we kind of back off with, we're going to do a podcast with what's the intent for this podcast? What do you want your audience to experience and feel when they're consuming the content? And I think that's really where I separate myself from, you know, other podcast production studios here locally.
Okay. Well, how'd you get started? Is this something that you've always wanted to do, something in this field, or is it kind of just happy accident? What's the story there?
No, happy accident. I was a web developer back in the day. And well, back in the day when you had to plug a device into a computer to sync your audio podcast before, you know, all this awesome technology we have nowadays. So because I was a web developer and you needed a computer to listen to podcasts, then I knew everything about podcasts in their mind. And I said, well, of course I do, and quickly learned everything I had to learn to produce podcasts. So we produced a podcast back in 2008 for a Masonic lodge. It's no longer standing. However, it was an awesome learning experience for me, and kind of took a break from there. And I had a colleague, a great friend of mine. They were moving his class from in classroom to online, and he taught at a local Cal State University. And he would bring in guest speakers. And he said, Brian, help me record these guest speakers so my students can still consume this knowledge. And after we recorded a few, I'm like, we should really be doing a podcast. You have great information. It's a great audience niche. So we started a show that we ran for 4.5 years. That show was monetized by episode 3. It was earning over $40,000 a year by the time we sold it. We actually sold it, its back catalog, the brand, and had a great exit. And that was full circle for me, and that was an awesome experience.
That's awesome. What's Sitch Radio?
You know, when I named it Sitch Radio, we were supposed to start an online radio station, and it never got there. And I'm a little bummed about that, number one. But number two, we did a lot of great live audio and video shows that they're just, the live environment is just so exciting. And you're relying on technology to work when you push a button, and you're relying on the ability to keep conversation going when it derails. But I couldn't get the buy-in of show hosts. They were nervous about being in that live environment and producing at that level. So I kept the name, and we just reverted back to, doing the great podcast we produce. And, you know, that's the history chapter on that story.
So, do you guys do much lives anymore? Is that something that you're wanting to do more of, or like, are you just kind of sticking where you're at, helping produce, or?
Yeah, we still do live shows, which is great. The video goes out live, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and then the audio stripped off of it as soon as the show ends, and it goes out via podcast audio only.
Okay. What's the main difference between, like, the audience if you're talking about a live show versus a recorded one for later? Because I've been on a live show or two, never recorded them myself, but just out of curiosity, is there much of a difference?
The main difference is if the show has a decent audience that's engaged during the live, you get to interact with them via the comments. We've even done shows where we've quickly emailed a person commenting the link to join, and they have. And when you get that engagement going, the show changes gears. And when the audience feels that they're a part of the show, the loyalty is there, and they share, they engage. It's a really cool feeling. Number one, back end it gets a little chaotic from time to time when you have comments rolling in faster than you can read. It gets a little hectic, and we try to do our best to highlight the best comments or the comments that will further the storytelling. But it's the energy. I encourage everybody to try live. People will back away. Well, I'm not comfortable. Well, when you go to a networking event, you're pitching live. When you're interacting with friends at a bar or restaurant, you're live. And when we can break that down and they accept the challenge to attempt live, they walk away with such a smile because it is exciting.
Yeah, no, I can imagine so. You've been doing this for a while now. What is it that you love most about what you're doing?
Helping my creatives tell their story. I not once since 2016 have woken up and said, damn, I have to go to work today. I love what I do. I love the creators I work with. Some stories are better than others, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. In their opinion, their story is awesome, and they have an audience for it. So who am I to discount that or not work with them because I don't like the content? And to watch a show grow, whether I love the content or it's okay, is rewarding to me. And to watch the numbers, I love analytics, and to watch shows grow and to watch engagement happen via social media or the podcast itself is exciting.
That's awesome. What is some advice that, looking back, you've obviously had some hard-won lessons. This is an ever-evolving area. What is some advice that you give yourself, or better yet, what's some advice that you'd give somebody else trying to break into this space to kind of look out for?
Start with why. Why are you creating a podcast? What's the intent behind it? What do you want to accomplish? I'm real big when a new creator comes to me and wants to work with our great staff. We ask for a mission statement. We ask for their value statement. We talk about KPIs and how are we going to gauge the success of this investment in time and money before we even talk about what title, what colors are your art going to be, what's the show description. And when we build that foundation, it's easy for my staff and them to make decisions when those hard decisions come up. Does this support my mission or not? If no, it's an easy no. And when we engage with the creator and we really understand the why and the intent, it just has so much more meaning behind the content we're helping them produce.
What's your average client look like, or what are the pain points somebody might be dealing with or might be coming up that if they're going through XYZ, you're the person that they should be talking to?
You know, I think this always brings a smile to my face when somebody comes to me. I want a podcast, but I'm just not sure what it would look like or how many episodes I would have. And we sit down and we go through a quick brainstorming session with them. And when they can, in 5 minutes, jot down 30 plus episode ideas, we know the content's there. And it's just a matter of organizing it. You know, so many people do an episode without a story arc. And in addition to every episode having a story arc, episodes tied together into a season can have an overarching story arc. And when we sit down and organize and put thought into that, it's just that much more compelling for the audience to listen to because we are taking them on that audio journey.
Okay. What about power partners? What are other industries or other professionals that you might synergize well with, that you guys might be able to find a lot of collaboration working with?
You know, we've worked with people who have told story via video only on, say, maybe a YouTube channel, or they're really good at capturing video for brand awareness or product awareness. And when we break that down into an audio only story, if it's going to be an audio only podcast, and share with them that that host becomes a spokesman, the audience falls in love or hate with that host. And there's so much connection that the audience feels with that individual. They know their name, they know their voice, they like what they have to say. However, that host knows nothing about who's listening. And I really think that the audio only portion, I was going to start Sitch Radio as an audio only platform, no video. And so many people came to me wanting video, we added video. But that audio story to me is just so much more compelling than video. You know, a lot of people will press play on a YouTube video, but then cover the screen up with that Excel sheet they have to work on. So they're listening anyway. And when you can craft that compelling story for an audio audience, it's you can do some awesome things with your brand.
How can businesses use podcasts to grow their brand and reach more customers?
You know what? One of the first things I encourage companies to do is find your FAQs, talk to your sales reps, and find out what the customers are asking for. And when you can answer those questions with audio or video podcasting, you shorten your sales cycle over time. And that just facilitates that business. They're going to be able to close business faster than they normally would. You know, going to an FAQ page is great, and sitting and reading these benign questions and responses is one thing. But when you can hear it, or those FAQs are woven into the story that's being told on an episode, it just has a different impact. And when you shorten that sales cycle, business booms.
And then you mentioned this earlier, but any other methods on how creators can craft compelling content that keeps audiences engaged?
Talk to your audience. You know, LinkedIn, X, Facebook, they all have polls, and put polling questions out there with the intent to dive deep into what that audience member or what that poll participant really wants to understand, learn, know. And if you listen to your audience and you give them what they're asking for, they're going to be that much more grateful. And they feel like they're indebted. You know, I listened to a show for years, and the host finally dropped a book. And I bought the book. I've never read the book, but I felt like I was indebted to him because he's entertained me and educated me for years. And I wanted to that small token of purchasing his book and giving back made me feel better. I don't know how it helped his bottom line. I'm sure, it contributed. However, it's just listen to your audience. What we think they want to hear isn't always what they need to hear.
Oh, that's that's absolutely accurate. Never thought about using polls, but that's really interesting. Any you mentioned like Facebook, LinkedIn, and stuff. Any one perform better than the other, or is it just kind of dependent on the channel and where it's growing?
Yeah, it really depends on the show and where their audience is. We had one show, LinkedIn Live. We would have more audience members watching during a LinkedIn Live than we did YouTube and Facebook combined. And they were so much more engaged. And it spoke to the content. It was professional business related content, and that contributed to it. But again, look at your analytics. Where is your audience living? If they're more active on one platform over another, that poll is probably going to perform better on that platform. But put it out on every platform.
Yeah, I think a lot of people overlook LinkedIn for, as powerful as it can be, because, you start thinking shows and content, you're thinking YouTube, you're thinking Facebook Reels, you're thinking that kind of stuff. Very overlooked. And from my experience, there's a lot of people there that are engaged, that want to listen, that, depending on what your show's about, you're going to find your audience there.
Absolutely. And LinkedIn is extremely overlooked, in my opinion. I spend more time on LinkedIn consuming content. I spend more time on LinkedIn networking professionally with people, giving referrals, introducing people, helping those people I'm connected with grow their business via, again, referrals and awareness. And I enjoy LinkedIn. And you're not getting all the "this is what I ate for dinner," type of posts. There's a little bit there, but they may have their place. If that LinkedIn member is a food critic, of course you're going to get foodie posts. But that's his business, that's his profession, so it's appropriate to be on that channel. So don't discount somebody's content because you feel it should be on another platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And by being able to engage that way, you're going to grow in an organic way, as opposed to if you were just putting shorts out, hoping people come in, stick around for long enough to catch an episode or two. So awesome. When you're talking about LinkedIn, like I mentioned, a lot of people overlook it. What is like a story where somebody, maybe was reluctant to post there, and then it was kind of an eye-opening thing. We're like, hey, there's something here, because in my opinion, LinkedIn is going to get more and more popular in the video space. They're clearly moving in that direction. So, do you have any stories about where people took off there that, they weren't expecting it?
That show I was referring to earlier, we were surprised to see the growth on LinkedIn. However, a lot of the audience members were, their email addresses were .edu, .gov, and it's okay for them to have LinkedIn open while they're in the workspace versus a YouTube channel. So we think that's helped contribute to the success on LinkedIn. And the audience opinionated, which is good. It was like they had permission to engage on that platform during working hours. And again, this is all goes back to understanding where your audience lives. What platforms are they, most engaged on? I think that is one of the best examples of, choosing LinkedIn and why that show, outperformed on that platform versus all the others.
That's interesting. I never considered that they're allowed that's another 8 hours of the day that you can be talking to somebody, as opposed to most other ones are kind of locked out for a bit. That's interesting. Never considered that before, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How can new, podcasters set themselves up for success in the crowded digital space?
Take the time to plan and understand what the commitment is before you launch a trailer or episode one. So many people hit the TikTok shop and buy that cool new podcasting kit and plug things in, push record, and publish. And they haven't outlined what their KPIs are going to be or what that mission statement is going to be. And this is a great drill in my mind. This is what I encourage people who come to me who might be on the fence. Should I do this or should I not do this? And I encourage them to take their mobile device and open up a voice recorder and pretend to do a show week after week after week. Record it. Keep that. There's some gold in those early recordings, trust me. And then understand that that is 40%, 30% of what it takes to have a successful show. You know, you and I spoke, we've exchanged emails, which were templated and extremely professional on your part, Anthony. I want to thank you for that. It was easy to understand what was next, engaging via email. But there's a time commitment before you even push record. And then once you record, there's a time commitment after that for light editing, heavy editing, unless you're in a live environment. Even if you're in a live environment, once that show is polished and ready for the public, now it's time to pull shorts from that episode and social media content. So many people overlook the benefit of taking that transcript and doing a quick edit and highlighting what would be good Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts, tweets, and extracting that and utilizing that piece of the show on those social media platforms to promote not only the episode, but the show. But there's time that is spent. And then once all that social media is created, you then have to schedule it out. And you're still not done. Now you get to engage with anybody that engages with that piece of content. So, you know, producing the show, we say is 50% of the job. Promoting each and every episode's the other 50. So understand that time commitment. And if you can push record on your mobile device and pretend to do a show week after week after week, and that's good step one. Step two, now let's work on post-production for what you recorded. Learn how to edit that audio if it's an audio-only show, or video if you're doing a video show. Or find the right vendor to help you with the editing process if that's something you don't have any interest in learning. But for no money, you can understand the production cycle, understand workflows, and have a great understanding of how much time is actually involved in producing a 30-minute weekly episode.
No, that's great advice because there is a lot more to it than you would think, and then getting those reps in are a big help because you don't know what you don't know, and like you said, doing a couple practice runs, you're going to pick up some stuff. You're like, okay, well, I did that in the most dumb way possible. Let me tweak that a little bit before I go live with it, because that's for sure been my experience. Everything that looks good now is because it wasn't before, and I had to fix it. So, fantastic advice. Is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add? I know we can go down a rabbit hole on any one of these subjects because there's so much to it, but just overall.
You know what, Anthony? I thank you for the question, and I want to turn the tables here and ask you a question.
Okay.
What is your why for I Know a Guy? Why did you start this show?
I was meeting a lot of people doing a lot of awesome things that I was never going to be able to help otherwise, just based on my business. Most people that I talked to were never going to ever be a client of mine. But I'm a firm believer in the helping enough people get what they want, you get what you want, the golden rule, the reap what you sow, the karma, the go-giver, whatever words you want to put to it. So I was having a lot of conversations with a lot of awesome people, and I figured I might as well add value to everybody that I meet. So I'm going to make these meetings I'm already having all about them. I'm going to record it and I'm going to share it so that other people can meet them, and we can reach more and more people to help more and more people.
And you know what? What an awesome way to network. You're meeting with somebody, you're immediately giving value to them, and you're introducing them to your circle of influence. And that's what networking should be about. Networking isn't about the sale. It's about how can we help each other thrive. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been the most fun thing that I've ever done. So, I haven't been doing it since 2016, but I can tell you since starting this October of 2024, so going on 5 months now, I haven't worked a day on it yet. It's all been fun. Some of it's a pain, don't get me wrong, learning and realizing I've been doing something the dumbest way possible, but then I get to fix it and I don't do it that way anymore. So it's been awesome. So um, for people that want to know more, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
You know what? The best way to get a hold of me and get links to everywhere else I live is on LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn open 10 plus hours a day. I engage with it regularly. I am present on LinkedIn. That would be the best way. Reach out, shoot me a note, send me a connection request. I'd love to interact with anybody.
Perfect. And I'm gonna put all that in the show notes. So you just click on it, click that connect button, and reach out to Brian. That's my advice for you. Because if anybody would like to get a hold of Brian, absolutely do it. You're gonna walk away knowing more than you do going in. He's awesome. He's an expert at everything that he's talking about here. So use that resource. Reach out, connect, have that conversation. If anybody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Brian. If you or somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Brian, I really appreciate you taking the time. There's a lot of us that have had this idea and we don't know where to start because it's a bit overwhelming. It's all new to a lot of us. We've seen it before. It looks easy. We try it for a little bit. It's not easy, and then we kind of give up on it. And there's a lot of that out there that they have cool stories. They definitely need to share them, and this is the platform and the medium in which they should do that. So really appreciate what you're doing, being able to help people with it. But let's all go out. Let's have an awesome day and grow our circles. All right.